Hello! In this video, we're going to look at what's going on in our brains when it decides if we want to do something or not. And we're going to use that information as a weapon to get back in shape. Thanks for tuning in. If you like this video, make sure you give us a like and definitely subscribe, because the 100th Hill is full of awesome content that helps you be the best version of yourself that you can be. With that said, let's start the show. So some people are just really motivated to do things like go to the gym every day, and some people just aren't, right?
Wrong.
The fact is, those people who are at it day after day pumping iron are just fortunate enough to understand the value that it has on them, and they took the time to get good at it. Thanks to an awesome piece of research called self-determination theory, we learned that something fundamental is going on in our brain when it decides if we want to do something or not. It essentially evaluates two things for that task. One, how valuable is that task to what we want in life? And two, our level of competence at that task. Now, another output from self-determination theory was that there are 7 key aspirations that are of varying degrees of importance to all of us. And those are wealth, image, popularity, community contribution, meaningful relationships, personal growth, and health. Now, within the context of this video, the aspirations that you're most likely to be contributing towards by working out a lot would be health, image, or personal growth. But potentially even relationships or popularity could be a driver for you too. And it's actually really important for us to understand this about ourselves. I mean, why are we doing this? And the reason for that is some aspirations are just more fickle and less motivating than other ones. Extrinsic aspirations like image, popularity, and wealth are just less motivating than the intrinsic ones. So if all you want to do is look hot, you might want to think about reframing this in such a way where it's going to add value to other areas of your life. Like, for example, how will getting into shape impact your personal relationships? Or how will it impact your personal growth? Like, it's great for your confidence, isn't it? And by the way, having the right amount of confidence is way more attractive than a six-pack, trust me. Doing this will give the activity more influence, more importance, and more meaning in your life than just a thirst trap mirror selfie. Secondly, we can look at finding ways of increasing the magnitude of the value that we're getting from this work. So to use an example, somebody who's put on a lot of weight over the years and has been told by their doctor that living past 60 is going to be much more of a challenge than they originally thought, versus somebody who's just getting puffed walking up the hill and doesn't like that. They're both contributing towards that health aspiration, but for one of them, the value is so much higher. One of these people is buying back potentially years of his life, and the other one is getting back air. So in these instances, when we need to increase the value, think about the other things that you might get out of this task, like more years on your life, or the ability to play with your kids or your grandkids more effectively. Another thing that you can do is find other aspirations that it contributes towards by changing the task a little bit. One example of that could be, instead of just doing a marathon, turn it into some sort of a fundraiser for a cause that's really important to you. This will add the community contribution aspiration, but also it could be great for your image, your popularity, even your relationships. If we feel we suck at something, we generally don't really want to do it much, do we? But the good news here is that this competence hurdle is only temporary, because the more we do something, the better we get at it. So I'll jump off script to tell a quick story. I was at the gym a few months ago and I saw this young fella. He was probably like 16 or 17 years old. And he clearly looked a little bit uncomfortable in the gym. And he was looking at some of the machines like they were aliens from a faraway land. And he approached the leg press with this quizzical expression, clearly not too sure about how to go about it, but he pressed on, no pun intended, and loaded up the machine, obviously with too much weight because he's a guy. And when he got to the bottom of his first rep, he realized that there was no way he was going to push that much weight back up. And in that moment, his response to that was just to grab his towel, grab his water bottle, and get the fuck out of there before anybody would notice this embarrassing moment for him. Unfortunately for him, I was right next to him, so I noticed it. And okay, yeah, it was a little funny, but I did feel for him because I knew that there was no way he was going to come back to that gym. And I can't say that he didn't, but I haven't seen him since. And the reason I felt that way is because I've been in that situation before. I can actually empathize with him. Sometimes when you get started at something, you feel out of place. And I was in this place with all these massive dudes and hot babes, and I didn't want any of them to realize how weak or incompetent I was and that I didn't belong. But the fact is, I did belong, because just like them, all I was doing was trying to better myself. So how do we get past those early jitters and get more comfortable in the gym? 1, go back to school.
Oh, back to school, back to school.
Do your research. YouTube has literally every exercise for every piece of equipment imaginable. It's not hard to figure out the exercises that you should be doing and, most importantly, how to do them. You could also get a PT or just go with a mate who knows his shit. There's apps, free and paid apps, that will help you set up the regimen that you need to achieve your goals. And fuck mate, even if you just hang back and watch somebody else use that weird piece of equipment over there before you go over there and attempt to figure it out yourself. 2, play in the sandbox. If this is at all possible, see if you can find a gym that is a lot more quiet and secluded in which you can learn in relative comfort. An example of that would be, I used to live in a building many years ago, and it had a really, an okay gym. And I used that with pretty much nobody in that gym most of the time to learn what I was doing and become more and more comfortable. And after about 3 or 4 months, not only had I saved a lot of money on gym fees, but also I had outgrown that little gym and I was ready to go to a proper one. And I was very comfortable, or at least much more comfortable, in getting out there amongst dozens of other people. Lastly, stop giving a shit, because they don't. If you're anything like me, you might have these self-conscious moments where you think that other people might be watching and judging you. And if you don't have these kinds of limiting thoughts, then that's amazing. But if you do, that's quite normal. It's not a big deal, but it's also wrong. Because I'm telling you, that guy on the bench right next to you couldn't give a shit how much weight you just put on your barbell. He's got his own shit going on. So just you do you. Essentially what you're trying to do here is just get through that awkward part as comfortably as you can while you work out what you're doing in there. And it really doesn't take that long. The more you do it, the better you'll get at it and the more comfortable you'll feel. It doesn't take a rocket scientist to figure this stuff out, trust me. And the other thing is, once you get through that period of awkwardness and incompetence, something else amazing happens. You notice results. After even only about a month, not only will you feel more competent in all the stuff that you're doing in the gym, but you'll also start to notice, a little bit of that more lost weight or a cut in your tricep. And that will prove to you something really important. The value in all this hard work that you've been doing. And that motivates you even more. And it becomes this virtuous circle. Now, before I close, I just want to talk about the advantages that you can have when you understand what's going on in your brain when it decides if it wants to do something or not. This knowledge that you have can be used to hack your brain, essentially, to find ways to be more motivated to do things. Because trust me, if you can increase the value and you can increase your feeling of competence towards something, you will want to do it. And if you can't find ways to do that, then that probably means you need to be looking at spending your time doing other things because it doesn't align to your life's aspirations. Thanks for watching. if you need any support, if you've got any questions, leave a comment down below. I am here to help. Don't forget the power of understanding what's going on up here. But for now, it's hooroo from Rick.